Hi, my name is Sharnita Wiggins, and I'm with Trendsetters to Trendsetters magazine here in Atlanta, Georgia. And we're here today with Ms. Zanona Clayton, who's the CEO and founder of the Trumpet Awards and the Trumpet Awards Foundation. Ms. Clayton, on behalf of Trendsetters, it is a privilege and an honor to be here with you today for you to share about the 2014 Trumpet Awards and the legacies that you're leaving within the community.
Thank you, but I'm the one who's pleased because I've been a part of your publication before, and it's a good publication, and I like it.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. We appreciate that. I wanted to start off with this. It's a known fact that the Trumpet Awards has, within the communities here in Georgia and other places, have made a big impact for so many years. What would you say is the driving force behind the success that has been ongoing for 21 years?
I think I'd have to say a combination of things. Everybody knows it's going to be a first-class production. First class means it's going to be positive, it's going to be a learning experience. Ambassador Andrew Young says it best. He says he's traveled everywhere, thought he'd been every place, met everybody. And yet when he comes to the Trumpet Awards, he meets somebody he didn't know, but he's glad now he does. He sees so many untapped sources of our accomplishments in this America that we just can't get them all. And we've been excluded so long in the pages of history and in our school books that our contributions just are not included. So we got a lot of catching up to do. And so the Trumpet Awards gives it to you, that learning process in a very dignified way. We don't do any kind of foul language. We don't allow that on the show. We don't do any kind of lewd-looking acts. We present everything in a very positive way. And that's the way I wanted it, and that's the way it is. I was really tired of seeing us being presented in negative images. I wanted the positive image, because Dr. King said he really felt that all white people didn't hate us just because they hated us. I mean, wanted to hate.
Right.
They perhaps some hated us because they didn't know us. That once they found out the kinds of contributions we've made, then the attitudes were different, and they have.
I definitely agree with that, and it's very evident in the way that the shows and awards have been presented over the years. And I'm sure that many more will probably, you're setting a standard for them to step up to that bar with that. In the past, you've had very influential names in politics, in entertainment, and also leaders in the community. Can you share who we can expect to be some recipients in the 2014?
Well, I could, but it's not nearly as intriguing because some of the names you won't know. Often, as you mentioned, we have educators and scientists and doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs whose names you don't know. We include people you know as well. But the beauty of our show is that once you come there and see and hear the contributions, you grasp the context better. I remember, just as an example, we had Dr. Levi Watkins, who was a physician from Boston University, not Boston, he was from Harvard. He was not known to a lot of people. And his name didn't mean much to the media. And it was interesting when I saw how they treated him. They were waiting. It was the night we had Aretha Franklin. The media was all excited about Aretha's coming, and Ted Turner's coming, and the people whose names they knew. And they almost ignored Dr. Watkins. But once he appeared on the stage and we told his story, this is the man who designed the defibrillator. I mean, if it were not for his discovery, we might be still looking for and searching for a remedy when we have a heart attack. And right now, in every airport in the country, and probably in the world, there's a defibrillator, and he's the one responsible for that. So you see, the names don't always tell the story. It's their contributions that people just, and they went wild. I mean, the audience went wild and applauded endlessly for, oh, so he's the one. And now, and even for, and I knew him, but even now when I go to the airport, I see it differently. I mean, I really see the defibrillator. I kind of overlooked it before, but now I see it, so I'm consciously aware of, guess who did this? The street light and so many things. So names are not really the key. So we've got a lot of people going to love to meet us. So I'll let you wait.
Okay, well, we thank you for that, because it kind of brings it into full circle about the background of what the Trumpet Awards really stands for. And I can see how this can compact in
But you will
society.
know the names of the Isaac brothers who've been around a long time, and Alfred Woodard, who's a great actress. So those are some of the people who will be there, but their names you know and their contributions you know. But the others, the names you won't know, the contributions you won't know until you hear about them.
Until we get to the Trumpet
Yeah.
Awards. Okay. In the past, we've seen a lot of ceremonies change over the years, and how has the Trumpet Awards changed from when you first established it in 1993?
Well, the only thing is it's gotten bigger and thankfully better, because you do improve, I think. The more you do it, the more you learn. But the bigness of it, you see now, I mean, I had this idea, and I was just over there at Trumpet Broadcasting, and I thought it'd be nice to have this nice event. But now it goes all over the world. It's 185 or more countries every year. And we hear from those people. I mean, I was so ignorant about the scope of the world that I didn't know some of these countries existed. So I'm learning, too, that we get a letter from somebody, and I can't remember the names of some of the countries, but you get a letter from them saying they saw this show and they want to know more about it. So to know that people all over the world are seeing this program that's talking about contributions, I mean, it's a great feeling. And so that has changed. The scopeness has changed. And then people's receptivity has changed. I'm now hearing from parents who said, normally their children may not find this appealing, because we don't have hip-hoppers all the time. We've had them. But they're not a constant inclusion in our program, because it's diversified in terms of careers. But they wouldn't normally sit and watch this show. But parents are making them sit and watch, and they're telling us the impact it's having on them. 7-year-olds and 9-year-olds now are forced by their parents to watch the first of it, and then they stay till the end because it gets interesting to them. So they tell us how they are broadening the scope of their children's exposure through our show. So that's changed.
Yeah, well, it's definitely educationally based. It's based on what you just said a few moments ago, and it's so important as a former educator myself. And that was the way I used to do, is to make sure that students knew about their history, where they came from, to inspire them where they're headed. So you're placing a platform out there for them to say, or see that scientist or that doctor and say, I want to do that.
Yes.
Oh, I want to be like that.
And
they're
see
knowing
that.
it's more than just one or two things, you know, not knocking hip-hop or the sports,
Of
but
course.
there's so many other areas that they can accomplish and achieve things. And so when you bring those unsung heroes onto your platform, that gives them something to look forward to. So it's definitely a good thing.
And this year we have already a group of 17 youngsters from Florida, who the woman who's in charge of the group let us know that, well, this was her language. She said, your show is the best thing on television for our children, because it's positive and they're learning something, and they're adding a new level of Black pride. That's what she said. And then for all of us who are older, we're getting a new level of pride through the program. So they're bringing them up here for their own expense so that they can watch the show up close. It was so thrilling, just so thrilling.
Amazing. It's amazing, and hopefully more will be able to see this and keep the ball rolling, because that's what it's all about. You know, each one teach one and can reach one. So, talking about that, we know in the past that with the generosity of your co-sponsors that you've had, you've generated nearly $4 million in charitable and educational causes, and most of which the funds assisted hundreds of students to be able to go to college and to get their education. Have you ever had any of those students to come back and to share the impact that had in their lives, or go on to do other community-based projects because they were inspired by what you did with them?
Your question is so timely. Right at this door, 3 months ago, it was right after school was out. It must have been May or June. The doorbell rang. The young man walked in. I didn't recognize him, and he said, whatever his name is. And I said, I was trying to remember where I know him from. He said, I'm one of your scholarship recipients. He said, and I'm graduated from top-notch university. And I said, I was so pleased, and I hugged him. Of course, I was so excited. And I said, well, did you make good grades? He said, I did pretty well, not the best. And I said, what's your GPA? He said, 3.8. And I said, I think that's pretty good. I said, I'll take that as a good bragging right. But he said that we gave him a start, that he knew that his parents, he had a mother, a single mother, and that she really was in doubt up until the last minute that she was going to be able to send him. And so our money was just right on time and helped him. And it generates, our money, we don't give enough, well, we give what we can. But we give it, and we found out that our, what I call a small gift, really generates more. Because when people find out from their church, if somebody else likes you, we do too. In the community lodge and some of the community civic groups will add to it. So I think it's kind of saying that if somebody else thinks that much of you, we will join. So we generate, our money generates more for them, and so they're able to, make it.
And that makes a big difference. I've definitely seen.
But I've learned that there's no such thing. I used to fret around, which I had more. But there's no such thing as a small amount that these kids need so much.
Yeah.
And it's the encouragement going with it. It's not just the dollar amount, but the mere fact that we care about them and want them to do well, and we check on them and see how they're doing. That's where the greatest value is, be shown.
And trust me, that does make a big difference.
And as an educator, you know that.
Yes, that makes a
that's
big
what
difference.
they thrive on,
Yeah.
that support, that encouragement.
I actually had a former student of mine, she's in the military now, that inboxed me and was sharing that she's moved up in rank in the military, and thanking for the things that I shared with them in the school. And those are those intrinsic rewards that compel you to keep doing more, because you can see if it's just one that's been saved from whatever small thing that you think you've done, which is a great thing to them, it makes an impact, and then that encourages someone else that may think, well, I can't go off to school, or I won't be able to do this. They know they have these entities out here, and hopefully it will drive more organizations to join in and to help, because it is costly with education these days, and it's not as easy to get funding as one might think. So every little bit helps.
That's what I understand. And all the years, I've only had one little, what I considered a failure at the time, but it didn't end up being that way. We had one of our girls got pregnant before it was time to go to school, just before she was ready to go. And she sobbingly called and said, she wouldn't be able to go. And then after she had the baby, she stayed in touch with me and said, I realized now it was a mistake that I made. I've got to live with it. But I found out the encouragement was there, and now I found help for my kid, and now I'm ready to go to college. That the mistake helped her to see the wrongness of that era,
Mhm.
and then now she's ready to get her life on track.
Yeah, so there's so many ways that it can
Yes.
impact them, so
Yes.
that's the key thing about that. You've been an advocate for civil rights for a long time, and you worked alongside legendary leaders in that movement, especially Dr. King, his wife Coretta, and many, many more. I guess you could say you've seen the worst and the best of that era. How did you feel to be able to experience seeing the first African American president, President Barack Obama, not being elected once but twice in your lifetime?
My mind went back to what Dr. King said one time. Well, he didn't say it just one time. But he said when, and he was really speaking in terms of what he called white men, unless and until white men of goodwill unite with us and join the fight for freedom, we may lose the war. But when that day comes, when we come together, blacks and whites, old and young, poor and privileged, we will see results that we would never have imagined. So if he came back today and saw this election night 4 or 5 years ago, he would have said, "See, I told you so." Because that's what happened with that campaign. If you remember the look of that campaign, these were well-to-do white women who were taken off from their jobs to them to take a leave of absence so I can campaign. You saw poor people bringing in quarters and dollars, and you saw black people ringing the doorbells, and you saw all the facets of our population coalescing. Then we got a victory that was unimaginable. So Dr. King was right. We came together as a populace and elected a man for whom people had great faith. And we're still proud of him the second time around. And it's a good feeling. But I told people that those who were jaundiced in their views when they said, what do you black people want? Now you got a man in office, you got a black president, what else do you want? Well, my response to that is that we never said give us an office holder and we'd be happy. We never said that.
No.
We fought for freedom and justice and equality. And just because he's there, that doesn't mean he can solve all the problems. As a matter of fact, he's probably got more problems to solve because he is black and sitting there and people are giving him a difficult time. But we're proud of his ascension to the throne. But we still don't have what we've been wanting all the time. We still don't have complete access. We don't have equality and justice. And until we get there, we're going to continue to fight and struggle till we get there.
Yeah, and then that's a powerful thing. I see that as you taking experiences from your past and integrating it into your present time, like with the awards and the foundation, and you're actually making an impact on and setting examples for the future.
And I'm happy to hear comments like that, because that's what I would hope that my efforts are doing, preparing us for the future, because we are a global society. And we have to learn how to get along together. And so white America has to know our past. White America must know how long we've been struggling. White America must know that we've been persevering in spite of great odds. They need to know that. They must know that. And so when I hear that, I'm just overjoyed, because I'm thinking now maybe one day we will do what Dr. King said, we will overcome.
Definitely. Well, I want to thank you for the interview. It is so very informational and rewarding at the same time, because now having an insight and others will be able to hear about and see about this story as well as read about it. So the more that we get together, the more that we can make a difference, because it is, that's the saying we have, it takes a village to raise a child. This is one of those village acts, because just presenting accomplishments and helping students to get and reach goals is setting that pace.
Well, you're such a good interviewer, I don't want to stop.
Well, thank you. I'm really enjoying it, and it's just a connection because of, with the background as an educator and seeing students who are at risk and who are struggling, but they have so much potential.
Right.
And that's the same thing I used to do in the classroom, is to show them, their own. I taught in Wilcox County, and the kids there at the time did not like being in that county until I shared with them when Dr. King came, when the G's Ben Quilters got together and were established so that they could make money to help the civil rights movement, and took them to some of those places that they passed by every day. And when they were able to see that, and at that time the G's Ben Quilters were getting really big with things, it gave them more pride. And they've had we have an actor that has come from there, so it makes a difference when you show, and our kids can relate. Because I know when I grew up, I had the white baby dolls. I didn't have the African American baby dolls. But when you start seeing them, you're like, oh, that looks like me.
Right.
So when you're sharing with them African Americans who are accomplishing on all levels, that gives that child that ability to dream. Even with the president and what he's doing now, the door has been open, and now we don't want just one. The first African American woman president.
Exactly.
So we're like I said, we're not satisfied. There are so many more areas that we have to overcome, and I'm right there with you. We're definitely going to continue to support and go forward and see what else that we can do. And we thank you again.
Very good. Thank you.